Well, Dean, thank you so much for joining us on Fully Scored to have a little look at your piece, Glorifico Aeternum. So, I've got a few questions before we look at the score, just to understand the piece and the context. Now, I believe you said earlier that it was 20 years exactly since this piece started to be written. What was the initial inspiration behind writing that piece 20 years ago?
Well, the initial idea really came about through the influence of Peter Graham's writing, particularly Shine as the Light, which at that point in the, where are we, early 2000s was still resonating around not only the army brass band world, but the contesting world as well. So it was a little bit of a feeble attempt. Nick Samuel and I sat in the office at Editorial one day and we said, shall we try and emulate the Peter Graham kind of sound? And it was just a little bit of fun, to be honest. And then a few months later, I opened up this file and had a little look and listen. I thought, actually, this isn't bad. And it could be adjusted enough away from Shine as the Light I mean, it was only the first 16 bars. And then it suddenly became my life for 3 weeks, literally at this time, 20 years ago.
And did you write the whole piece in that 3 weeks then?
Yes, most of it on the train, would you believe? Uh,
Right.
um, and it literally became night and day, my entire focus. And so a lot of it was written on the rickety train, the Reading to Waterloo line. Yeah,
Wasn't quite steam trains back then, was it?
I'll tell you what, there was smoking carriages. Seriously,
Really?
yep,
Oh, blimey.
and no aircon, slam doors. Yeah,
Well, there we go. A slight tangent there. Let's get us back on track. So, pardon the pun. Glorifico Aeternum. Now, I'm not fluent in Latin, but can you talk us about the title and how it came to you and what it means?
so yeah, I'm not a Latin expert, Matthew. Although I have used a few Latin titles, but I was really inspired by Ken's writing and obviously, but also the fact that he'd used a Latin title with a piece called Christus Victor. It kind of resonated with me. It gave it that kind of grandeur that I liked, and also everlasting glory. Don't know. I mean, in retrospect, should have just called it Glorifico, and I did. I nearly did, but it is what it is. And like with everything else that any writer does, once it's in print, that's it. You move on.
I'm sure many would describe this as your magnum opus. Is it fair to say this was the first piece that you'd written of this magnitude?
Yes, I'd never written anything of this length before. Some of the material comes back from university. Some of it was taken from other arrangements I'd started, but it suddenly seemed to work as something that could just be put together, written for the A band at Yorkshire Summer School of that year. And that was it.
So let's have a look at the score now. And it's an energetic start, perhaps. Obviously, as it says, Allegro vivace con energia. Can you tell us a little bit about what you were trying to achieve or the inspiration behind this introduction?
Yeah, very much had the Shine as the Light model, like I said, in mind. There's no two ways about that. That was it. My dad is also a writer, arranger, and he was my go-to point for anything. Still is really to show him like where the rights and wrongs of what I'm trying to do. And he didn't know Shine as the Light really, so he kind of came at it more from a pure compositional point of view. So the original of Glorifico at the beginning had the euphonium dancing all over the place, just like Shine as the Light. Okay, and he's like, why don't you try something a little less frenetic here? And so he said, maybe just a shorter rhythm. And so that was his idea. Then it launches into more full bar five there. So if you can almost physically see the change from the euphonium part from bars 1 to 4 into 5. And I think that, it gave it its originality from the word go. And I'm so glad that he recommended that change. Yeah, lots of vibrancy, lots of energy, minor key. Everything I wrote at that point was in the minor key. Wasn't very good at writing in the major key. Everything had to be minor. So, yeah.
So, section A, and in the bars preceding section A, we have some unusual time changes here, particularly A
Uh,
going into 10/8, which gives it a real dance like feel. What was the reasoning and rationale behind that?
Again, a lot of my writing, a lot of my style, it comes under influence and it comes under really spontaneity. It literally felt like this is where I need to go next. Peter had done the 10/8 stuff in Shiner's Delight. Again, it was that inspiration to use a slightly unusual time signature to go into something, like you say, dance-like, little interjections with the flugel, with some of the other solo instruments as well. I've always loved the sound of the middle of the band. So I try and always write three parts in the middle of the band where I can. Always was thinking, try and work in threes. And this piece does that a lot.
And at letter B, the cornets have this fanfare idea which modulates and takes us into C, perhaps a reprise, but a little bit more gentle from the beginning. Can you talk us through the
Yeah.
modulation and what you're achieving in this section?
So as I look at it, letter B again is very much spontaneous. This is kind of coming from where can the music go next? Texture wise, we've had a lot of sounds. We've had the full band play for most bits of section A. It needs a bit of drama. It needs a fanfare. Again, it came about through just at heart. Really, I'm more of a percussionist than I am a brass player. I'm a rhythmic person. I always think of rhythm. So this just came to me straight away. Goodness knows what the rhythm was, and I've managed to get it down here, and it flips around as the score suggests from the compound beats to the straight beats. But this just came to me, and it seemed to work, and it literally never ever changed from the moment it was written to the moment it was published. It's exactly the same.
And at letter C, we have the first iteration of the tune Now Thank We All Our God, as you mentioned earlier. Now, are there any references to that tune before it comes in these sections that you're speaking out, or was there no plan to even use this tune till you got there?
Territorial Music School, when I say it's still on manuscript, no mention of Now Thank We All Our God. And as in the writing process, just came to me. And this was where it headed. In retrospect, then, when it came to then after Territorial Music School, the piece was never designed to be used at Territorial Music School. I just happened to be still writing it at that point. And I said to him, Steve, I'm working on something. Do you think we could look at it maybe after Wednesday, like maybe Thursday morning? Would that be? Yeah, fine. No problem. It's literally, that's all it ever was. By Friday lunchtime, he was talking to me about, like, can we use it? And I'm thinking, oh my word, this is unbelievable. So the piece took a few revisions, if you like, after being played. And this addition, pick up to bar 10, you'll see in the back row cornets, trombones, little statement, bum, 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 bum. That was added after its debut performance.
Excellent. Good to have these little facts, and always interesting to see how a piece comes together. I guess often we'll see the final product, but it's fascinating to pick a composer's brains on how that product came to be. So that takes us on to letter D. Again, something a little bit different in these sections, letters D and E. Could you talk us through this final section of perhaps the first movement of the suite?
I opted then to go straight here, 4/4, but with lots of drive and drama, stab notes, creates nice effects, nothing terribly exciting or off the scale here in terms of originality. Just wanted to round off the tune, really.
So at letter F, we transition into a very different style of music, and there's something quite interesting happening in the timpani part through this initial transition. Can you talk us through what that is, how it's achieved, and where the inspiration for that came from?
It's another Dr. Grahamism, I'm afraid. Both the euphonium kicking off in a kind of slight mystery of where we're going. Peter must have used this uh, as well, this idea, whether it was Shine as a Light or Renaissance, not sure, can't remember. But it's a great effect. Put upturned cymbal, I mean, it's old now, right? Any professional percussionists are out there going, yeah, I did that back in the Stone Age, right? So, it's not exactly groundbreaking stuff, but it's a great sound. And when you're pedaling it up and down, that gliss, it is very effective.
And at letter G, we have the melody Someone Prayed for Me. Could you tell us a little bit about that melody, please?
Yeah. So we'd used the song at TYC that year. Really resonated with everyone there. An amazing song. I'll be honest, at that point in my life, things were really quite difficult. Personally, I was going through some struggles. And actually, yeah, the song really worked for me as if you like, a testimony and of a basis of actually, there's people out there who love and care for me and who want the very best for me and are praying. So that was a really important part of it for me as well. And I knew that the song, it was a winner. So, yeah.
And when there's that personal affectation to the tune, does that put more pressure on you as a writer to do it justice?
It doesn't add pressure, no. It didn't really make that much difference. It just sort of flowed for me. It gave me that extra push to use it well and to make that statement of the tune and of the obviously you can't think of Somebody Pray for Me without the words. I'm usually a music first person and the lyrics very much second. But in this, it's very much hand in hand. So no, good material will always inspire a good writer to lift it further.
So when the tune comes in at letter I, it's a very different treatment to the you've had previously in letter H. How did you try and change it to build the music?
Yeah, so that's again lifted straight from the original that we used at TYC, which is published in an American journal somewhere. Yeah, it was just using the piano orchestration and making sure that there was that idea that we're lifting it somewhere so the euphonium part is busy, high. There's lots going on, lots of big sounds, which suddenly, when you're orchestrating for brass band, you've got another set of voices that you can use away from just the piano with the songster song. So it was great to be able to do that. I guess in some ways, people would say, when you score for brass band and you elevate it to an orchestra, you've got that same new palette. And this was the thing. So it was using all the same energy, the power, the key change that goes in, and then giving it that bigger treatment, and then coming out of it again.
So at section K we enter the third part, structurally, of this trilogy. Some interesting sounds from the tam-tam and, as you mentioned earlier, the flutter tongue. But can you talk us a little bit through the inspiration for this movement and set the scene, what you were trying to achieve in this closing movement?
Minor key again, and written at university. So, what was I, 21? So a few years before, I'd given myself the enormous task of trying to write a piece of music, trying to sum up the first chapter of Ephesians. And again, it was sketches that never really came off. But this was one of them. This idea with the flugel and the interjections behind it. Again, rhythmic. Rhythm is I'm always tapping and fiddling, and I'm amazed I've been tapping the table here with all that 10/8 stuff, right? So, but yeah, that rhythmically driven, built up on the pyramid of 1-3-5. I think I mentioned that in the score notes. Some would say that the trombones, cornets, doing that kind of stuff. So yeah, again, creating something a little bit. I'm also a bit like Peter, I guess. I do love the sort of South American kind of stuff, and that I like the richness of some of those sounds, and I wanted to sort of get some of that in there in this last section in different ways, and this was one of them.
So at letter M we have some references, particularly with the 10/8 sections, back to the opening. How important for you when writing this was the arc of the music and the synergy between the opening section and this closing section?
Writing stuff to make sure it's coherent and make sure that it has some synergy was definitely something that was emerging for me. As I mentioned, I was more than happy to go back and try and get a little bit of snippet of "No, thank you, well, God." It was really important to do that. And other things like that was suddenly becoming more intrinsic in my compositional experience and development at that point. It still is. All these years on, you're always learning. And so it was, I felt you're trying always to make something that's symmetrical in a way. So you want to have those ideas come back.
And at letter O, as you mentioned, some of these Latin American inspirations, I would say letter O is perhaps one of the best examples for this. Would you say the same?
Yeah, I mean, that's the most overt. The flugel before that with the little appoggiatura kind of little jazz almost influence there. That was a little taster, if you like, of what I felt was more sort of jazz Cuban kind of idea. This was how'd you say it, mariachi trumpets kind of thing, like very much that ilk of writing. I'd heard some of it. Again, I think it was Peter. He takes a lot of credit for this piece. Really, it should be really his and adapted Dean Jones, shouldn't it? But anyway, So that was really resonating with me. I wanted something out there, like that's. It's funny as you get older, you almost become. It's funny with experience. You'd think you'd be more confident, but in some ways you retreat slightly. I don't think I'd have the courage to do that now. It's really interesting. Like for me, it was all about vibrancy, energy, let's try this, let's do that. I don't know if Auntie Doris on the back row is going to like this or not, or the bandmaster that served for 75 years, he might not like it either. But I don't know. Something about this piece has been a bit of a something for everyone. And this was a moment I just sort of let loose with.
have this almost sort of anthem-like shout from the cornets. Can you talk us through this next section, and again, what's happening in the music here, and perhaps your narrative?
So looking at the score here, Matthew, we've gone from the sort of mariachi type trumpets at letter O, and again, the music needed another lift. I'm thinking, goodness, I'm not sure where I can go here. I might have lifted as far as I can lift. So I went with just raising the line with the tubas. It might be, go to first inversion by the look of it, before P. So that helped set up back to the, basically in B flat speak, A minor by the look of it. This, again, another snippet. I'd started an arrangement of Lord Reign in Me. And that Lord Reign in Me arrangement has served two major works. It's the beginning of the last movement of Lord of All. The chorus I lifted out and put in here because I needed something which was really going to snap, like have a major kick. Because where do you go from that letter O, right? It was difficult.
Letter Q, we have reference to the opening of the piece. Can you talk us about the direction that you now take the work in?
Yeah, so this is a build-up of, like we said earlier, about that kind of idea of 1-3-5, pyramid of tonic, third, fifth. And all the time the music is being raised, broadened in that way. And also width-wise it is. So we start off with the stabs from the remainder of the band at bar 3 of Q, just having 3 notes. So we go from 1 to 3 to 5.
So that takes us into letter R, where we have this repeated ostinato figure in the soprano and second cornets, along with a challenging, well, it looks challenging part to me in the xylophone because I don't play it. But can you talk us through the way that you build and use that ostinato throughout this transitional section?
Major inspiration at letter R of Light Me section within Shine as a Light, where unusually the conductor points people in, very alien to people, certainly in our Salvation Army world of playing what they want when they want, almost. I chose a different route and wanted to recreate something of that, but within keeping on the page. So that's where letter R comes from.
So, at letter S, we have on the score, it says the tune St. Columba in what might be described as an augmented fashion here. Can you talk us about some of the musical devices that you've used in section S?
The whole idea of back row, the cornets and the horns kind of wallowing through the tune was a strong feature of lots of writing, and still is, and works well. So then you're decorating it with your solo cornets and euphonium primarily. I wanted also some a little bit of stability within the rhythm to be in the trombone. So yeah, I'd see this as decorative with balance and if you like, the majesty that this tune deserves. Amazingly, again, this tune came to me, I believe we'd been proofreading an arrangement of Norman Bearcroft's. It was subconsciously, it was somewhere. Wasn't ever the idea. One of the unsung heroes here at Staines Core, during the last stages of me writing this, passed away. So it must be pretty much 20 years to the day since Jim Hopkin passed away. And at his celebration service for his life, the words of Psalm 23 were read, which were his favorite. And it felt like, okay, this is now, all these symmetries and amazing coincidences are coming together, and I feel this piece needs to have a tribute to it, literally, for Jim. He was a quiet guy, but an unsung hero. And so the whole idea of me being inspired by literally proofreading St. Columba somewhere, it was in my subconscious. Going to Jim's service of Thanksgiving, hearing Psalm 23, everything just seemed to be, again, melting together to create something, I guess, of some kind of significance.
And letter T is our final section, and it's a very, very grand end to a grand piece. Do you want to talk us through how you finished and brought everything together in this final
Yeah,
conclusion?
yeah, interesting. Yeah, so I went back to the kind of like me idiomatic section that I alluded to earlier. The idea of going those sort of chords that I used there and also earlier in that section, they kind of are quite dramatic. It's a minor third down from the tonic. It's chord 6. It works well. Minor key. It has that bit of drama about it. Nothing um, overtly technical. But then as this section goes on, you'll see it thins out to the point where it's just bum ba bum ba bum ba right before the 4/4. And to me, the interesting bit of this was starting off with lots of notes, and gradually it tapers off and off and off and off. You'll see it within the solo cornet part, probably most obviously. And yeah, that was fun to try and make that technically and aesthetically work to the point where the top half of the band are all in unison.
Well, Dean, thank you so much for joining us and giving us a real insight to this piece that I know has been used so many times, certainly in the context of music schools, and is a really, really popular work. Thank you for telling us a little bit of your insight into the piece, how it came to be, and delving into the music and the words associated with it there. Thank you.
Thank you, Matthew. Thanks for having me.